the Kojima Frequency. This is Die-Hardman. I need fingers, days ahead, and Nitroid to deliver an interview with actor Tommie Earl Jenkins.
Whoa, Die-Hardman. Is that really you?
How did you even get this number?
Wait, hold up. Is this a premium delivery?
Hey, I'm Fingers.
Hey everyone, this is Days Ahead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
All right, we got Tommie Earl Jenkins on the show. We are all definitely big fans, so thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course. It's just been wonderful to sort of have so much support since the release of the game and everything. And it's actually opened me up to a whole new realm of people that I hadn't been connected with before. And it's amazing, obviously, and how funny that the game, that's what the game is about as well. You know?
Yeah,
so,
just connecting people.
Yeah. And it's just from around the world. So it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Especially, in 2020. I mean, with Metal Gear, we always joke about Kojima. Oh, he predicted this, he predicted that. And then Death Stranding kind of took it to a new level with COVID.
It really did. It really did. I think that everyone was a little bit taken back by the fact that it hit so close to home when it came up. And it just by some strange fluke that it happened to coincide when COVID came out. And that was just like mind-blowing for those people who were sort of following the game. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
I mean, like, speaking of COVID, I mean, you went from Death Stranding where, you're in these mocap outfits and you're interacting with people. And I'm sure you guys got very close up, to get those mocap balls on.
Yeah.
And then from that to, having to be isolated, like you said.
Yeah.
So how has that adjusted or changed your career as a voice actor, both in terms of like, how you play out your roles, but also, from a technological standpoint? Because you have your camera on, right? And it looks like you have a pretty elaborate setup.
Well, it's not elaborate by any means. I mean, for me, I've thrown it together, and part of it had to do with COVID, in terms of getting some soundproofing and a little bit. Like right now, I'm kind of in my walk-in wardrobe, so half of it has been split into halves. So the clothing is on that side, and also behind the drapes that are hanging. And so I've got this little corner, with my mic stand and a little bit of a shelf here and a light and a place to set my beer, and
That's all you need really with a recording.
Yeah, you're gonna fit right in.
Exactly.
What you drinking?
Right now, I'm actually having Stella, so I'm having a
what
little
I'm drinking
tipple.
right now.
Oh, good. Then we're all on the same page.
Same
then.
wavelength,
Great.
wavelength.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.
So to answer your question, what was different between before COVID and after COVID? When we were doing Death Stranding, obviously COVID wasn't in our sort of in the picture at that moment in time, and obviously we work so close together and everything. But in terms of how things happened afterwards, after. During the process of COVID and as sort of dealing with the voice work, everything was being done from home. There was a period of time where I was still going into the studio for a few things when I was doing some stuff for Guild Wars and some of the other projects that I've been working on and some dubbing for Netflix and things like that. It was very odd. It was very odd because even though I do a lot of submissions from home through my agency for a lot of projects. That was always normal. It's when you book a job and then you have to either be purely set up to be able to record from home, that's good enough for them to use, or if you are happy enough to go into a studio that has been been given the COVID okay in terms of working, which was a lot of that, which I did do, and I'm actually quite happy to be able to go in, and even though I don't see anybody from the moment that I walk in or come into contact with anyone, they'll take your temperature. I go straight into the studio. It's all been sanitized, all the headgear, everything is all been set for the person who's coming in, and so basically I'm only seeing the people through the engineer's window and conversing that way. Never anything physical. So. That's been taken. That's a little takes a little getting used to, because I love having that initial contact when I'm meeting the client or anybody that I've worked with before, and we have a moment, we greet each other, we say what's been going on, and you have a little bit of a laugh, and get yourself all warmed up before you go in and do the gig. So all of that has been very different now. Whereas everything pretty much that I've done has been from home, and even working with my team back in the UK, I've done some things from here that have just been sent straight there. So we were able to work through Source Connect and all that sort of stuff. So it's been good that our industry on that side has been able to keep going. What it has made artists do, I think, is to up their game with their home set up as best they can.
My companies are doing good right now.
But as best they can, because you kind of need that little bit of a upgrade if things are going to be taking place from home. I still have a couple of projects that I'm supposed to be a part of that have been put on hold since COVID, and we keep moving the dates because I think there's some mocap stuff I'm meant to do, and I can't obviously say what the project and stuff is for, but those things they want to be able to travel to go and do that sort of stuff. And it's just about finding where we are, and hopefully things are getting better with the vaccine and stuff like that. So I hope that I answered your question with regards to before and now and all of that. Let me know if I did, or if I missed something out.
Oh no, that was perfect. That was perfect. Okay. I mean, because we all. Oh, sorry, that was my ringtone. Actually, I just dyed my hair, and I'm getting a lot of likes on it. It's really nice.
Oh, great.
I'll DM it to you. I'm very
do that.
proud of it.
Do that. I'm glad to see that you're getting approval, so that's good.
Yeah. Positive reactions only.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I swear I did not. That was not trying to be pandering. I swear. Yeah, no, you answered the question perfectly, because I mean, everybody right now is kind of, as you like you said, as we are sort of like winding down, everybody's thinking about, okay, now that we know that we can work from home like permanently, now that we know that we can do this and that, everybody's kind of rethinking how they work. And I can't imagine how it feels as like a voice actor, or just like an actor in general. So I mean,
it's hard. I mean, even the theatrical, the acting side for me, in terms of that whole side of things has changed. Normally, and the same with some voice work, but mainly for acting and stuff. Normally, we'd be going into the casting director's office to audition for whatever roles we've been submitted for, and it's an in-person call. And now there are no in-person calls. The industry's kind of returning back to getting closer to back to where it was in terms of work. But now auditions are, once again, I come upstairs where I used to have to fight on the 101 or the 405 to get, or go over the canyon to get to Hollywood and go to the casting director's office. Now I just, I have my coffee and I go upstairs and get into my clothes and set up my Zoom and, do my audition and close the laptop and go back down, change my clothes, and I'm there. And I don't have to battle with anybody. I don't have to deal with, actors in the waiting room who are, feeling a little angst about going in and all of that sort of stuff. And you don't have to deal with it. So in one respect, it's kind of a luxury to be able to do that, and a comfort being able to do that. And also with self-taping. We're self-taping more than we ever have for acting roles, and a lot of some of the voice work I come through are now asking for visual self-tapes, because it's going to be dealing with motion capture or a person's likeness in that respect. So thank goodness we have the ability to keep things going in that way.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to each side of it, for sure.
Absolutely.
Like you said, the big part that I hadn't really thought about is just like when you're going into the booth, of course they have the COVID set up and you're pretty good behind that glass and stuff, but just the going in and the warming up and the hang, the chill out session before. That's a
Absolutely.
big part, instead of just, like you said, just going right into the booth and right to work.
Absolutely.
That's like, especially when getting into character and doing that, like your scene in Death Stranding at the very end, your confession scene to Sam, that alone, like the amount of expression that they were able to capture, like that was the first video game scene where I was like, there is no uncanny valley here. Like this is like, where we're like peaking right here. And
Right.
I think Kojima's always been able to, like, at the forefront of like being able to like convey emotion and stuff. But I don't, that scene, man, when you like, that brought me to tears. Like, and I think there's been so many people that scene, like when it hit, it was like, wow, this thing's got real just now. Like,
well, it's funny because, not that I don't think we're spoiling anything about it, because I think most people have gotten to that point at this stage with the game and stuff. And it was truly, for me as an actor, it was probably one of the most challenging scenes I've ever had to do, let alone doing it through motion capture, and not being in a film or a TV set surrounding where you have all these things around you that help you to get to that place, including the actor you're working opposite and all of that. And all I had was Norman for that scene. And thank God for him, because he was with me 100%. But it's also hard when you're trying to emote and deliver a scene like that, when you're looking at someone standing opposite you wearing headgear and dots all over their face, and
a little
suit.
silly.
Yeah. And you're like, this is Norman Reedus. Look at him. Look at what he's wearing. And then, of course, look at me. Look at what I'm wearing, But you, as the actor, you have to block all that out. And it was probably one of the most challenging things I'd ever done. But I knew what Kojima wanted. I knew what the storyboard and what the journey was at this stage, and what was about to be said and what needed to be conveyed. And it was, like I said, it was hard, but at the same time, it was one of the most incredible experiences to have, mainly because I think as much as I tried to prepare for that scene, knowing on the day that it was coming up, and I think we shot it after lunch one day, and I think I just went into a corner beforehand and just kind of put myself in the shoes of Die-Hardman for that moment, think about what it was, the information I was going to deliver, and I had to have that beginning, middle, and end. Do you know what I mean? And so it had to escalate at a certain point. Now, for me, I didn't want to pinpoint myself at where that happened. I just needed to let it happen organically as best as I could. And so I think putting myself in the situation and listening to the dialogue that I was saying, being in the moment, and I think ultimately it went where it needed to go without me having to manipulate, because I don't like to do that, but I'd like to think that it got everything that Kojima wanted from that. And, we did it in one take. All in one take.
Bro, oh my God. Okay, when you did that, did you straight up like Randy Watson mic drop and logo to the left?
Everybody's like, scene, we got this one. That was it.
I swear, disclaimer, you're way more talented than Randy Watson. And if you don't get this, if you don't get this reference, please go on Amazon Prime and watch Coming to America.
Okay. Listen, I did the scene, and like I said, with all the respect and gratitude to Norman for being there 100% with me, because eyes to eyes, it was that really helped lock it all in. And that's, and he's such a giving actor. So at the end of that, I think I was so, my internally, I was so shaken by it all, because I felt for that moment that I had just lived this guy's confession. If that makes sense. I felt that I had literally experienced what Die-Hardman would have experienced at that moment in time, having to deliver the message that he did deliver. But it was done in one take. We finished it, and I remember being in a heap on the floor, and Norman just sort of got me up towards the end of the scene, and when he walks away, I just felt this everything just left my body. And then and there was like a moment of dead silence after it, and then it was like I was just holding for the scene to the end until Kojima said cut. When he said cut, everybody was just erupted into applause afterwards. and even with people with tears and crying in their,
Yeah, well deserved.
in their eyes afterwards. Yeah, and so it was a wonderful moment. And I thought, oh, one take, I said that you're not going to get that from me again. That is I can't go down that road again.
That drained me, yeah.
But he turned to me and with the utmost respect, he turned to me and he just held his finger up and went, just one more time.
Can you take one more?
So we did do it one more time, and it did go just as well. But nothing is ever going to beat that first one, because that's what I call living in the moment. And some things I would never be able to recapture those things, because then I'd be thinking about what I'd done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
But I think we did one more just for safety.
Yeah.
And we did have a moment where Norman's headgear and I, they locked, and our helmets almost came off at that moment. But we saved it. But literally, that first one, that was it. And I was pleased, and I know that Kojima was pleased, and the whole team for that moment, because I think it was unlike anything that had been done, and I had no idea how it was going to come across once it was done. I just go in, I do my gig, and I leave. I don't see anything until the finished product, unless I'm going back in for pickups of something, and I might catch a glimpse of something. But ultimately, I knew nothing. I didn't even have any idea how I was going to be portrayed as far as my likeness and everything. But I have to take my hat off to them and go, one, being a black man, two, emoting like that, and to be able to capture that.
Yeah.
I was absolutely floored, and I couldn't be more grateful for what they were able to portray, and certainly in terms of my likeness. And I just thought they did an incredible job. Absolutely incredible.
That engine is amazing. That facial tech is just like, wow.
Incredible, right?
I haven't seen anything better than that since. There's been all these games that have come out in the past year and a half, and it's like, still not really topping that at all, really.
Yeah. And they were like, people were questioning, thinking, oh my God, I think they probably put the tears and the snot in. I'm like, dude, the tears and the snot were already there. I think they just captured it. It was all there.
So is it difficult to get into character for a game like this? Because Death Stranding, in terms of script, has a lot of these huge, hard to wrap your head around foreign concepts. Was there a lot of context given to you for this beforehand to kind of facilitate you getting into that?
For me, I mean, I had the basic premise of my character, who he was, what he did, what his sort of template was, if you will, in terms of the type of character he was. And bits of this, because it's such a complex story, I was lost for a lot. And so what happens was that I think they fed us information as we went along. So I was able to connect what was happening in the scene that I was working on. So in that particular scene or any of the other scenes, I knew what had happened, what was going to happen, so that I, as the actor, had as much information as I could in order to proceed forward within the scene and to make it make sense to me. So in that respect, it was. But, there was no way for me to get all of the information in one go, or, here's a full script, read the entire script. And even though they may have had it, it still would have been crazy for me to try to keep track of. But, Die-Hardman's character was interesting because for the most part, I think he's got the most dialogue, or maybe second to most dialogue in the entire game.
Right.
And my thing with him was that, some people were kind of thrown off by all of a sudden this man with a heart and human emotions, when before he's been pretty much just this task giver, shouting commands and this, that, and the other, and not being very emotive. And I think that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I didn't do. So I know people may have their discrepancies, and I'm all up for that. I'm all up for people, trying to figure out why things were done the way they were done. But I personally felt like he's not an emotive character. He's not there to be a friend. I think he's there to get a job done.
Right.
I think he's very much by the book.
Yeah.
He's not going to show any emotion. He's not going to be any of this. Everything's matter of fact. It is matter of fact for him because the weight of the world is on his shoulders to a degree. And also I think his history has led him to be the person he is as a commander. That this is just how it is. And I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it. But, there were moments where I was able to let a little bit of guard down and let the emotion come through. And certainly towards the end, because I think when you have that kind of dialogue to deliver, there's no way that you can deliver that dialogue being the person you were, 80 hours ago.
Yeah. It makes the breakdown that much more significant when it's normally you're just a tough guy and all of a sudden there's this breakdown in front of you. You're like, whoa, dude! Like, I didn't know you had this in you. So it comes as a more dramatic surprise.
Yes,
and I'm glad you brought up the point about like Die-Hardman starting out as very matter of fact, very objective, and then like as you kind of continue down the UCA, there's like you can sort of see him break down and sort of what's the right word I'm looking for? You sort of see him break down and you can that's sort of when you can tell, there's some other motive. I mean, obviously it's a Kojima game. Like your superiors are going to have an ulterior motive.
And that's the thing. I think people were kind of like, I get so many messages through my social media platforms, and everyone's kind of like, I didn't trust you in the beginning. I didn't like you. I thought this dude is up to something. I can't trust him. And everything. And then and the mask and everything. And it was just so much fun. I loved that it got people talking. I loved that it was something that people didn't know whether to like or not like. I liked that there was a debate and a discussion about it. And at the end of the day, it's not I don't play a character for you to like me. Do you know what I mean? My job is not for you to like me. My job is to do what's required, and it's up to you to make the decision you want about that particular character.
Yeah. That's a big thing in Kojima games for sure. He likes to put in a character that's like, it's all of a sudden it's just like, oh, it was me, Liquid Snake all along. It's just like this pull the rug out from under you, And that's I kind of compared your character to more like Colonel Campbell, how he's just like the main guy that's giving you the direction. Head north, like this is your job, just very matter of fact. He's not, he's kind of your buddy, like you know him from past, but he's just very matter of fact. So.
It's funny that you say that because, Die-Hardman's breakdown sort of reminded me of like in MGS2 when AI Colonel is like, that wasn't part of the mission. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just follow our instructions. Like I felt that same energy.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a highlight of your role there.
Thank you. I definitely have heard that comparison before. And
nice.
And I think it's I'm incredibly honored to go down in the history books as a Kojima character. You know what I mean? I feel absolutely honored to be one. I know there are other people who have done them and stuff, and I applaud them, and I'm just happy to feel like I sit amongst the Mount Olympians who stand up there on the mountain looking down and going, yes, I'm a Kojima character. Yes, I'm proud of that. I'm proud of it. And to be the type of character that he was as well. And also I feel like it was good for me to feel like I was representing, in the diversity factor for me as well, and to have a black character in a role like that, and to be able to play that type of character and to show that kind of emotion and range as well. So, I feel honored by it. I'm absolutely 100% grateful for the opportunity.
You definitely have a point there about, representation and like having a black role that's like a positive representation. Like I consider John McClane a positive role.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
At what point of the script did you realize that your name was John McClane too? Was that like in parentheses right next to Die-Hardman, or was it later and you're like, son of a bitch, it's John McClane? Like Kojima, he loves his wordplay. So
honestly, I don't think I remember when I triggered that. because I just latched on to Die-Hardman, and I just thought, well, this is an interesting name for a character. And then I thought, well, it's Kojima and all of that. And to be fair, this was my first experience with Kojima. So I was aware of all the Metal Gear games. I didn't play them, but I knew of them, and I knew bits about them because I had friends who were diehard fans.
So you knew the crazy bits, right?
Yes. Yeah. So and to be honest, it was one of those things where I was happy that I didn't know that much information until the day that I went to go and work with Kojima. So I felt like it was wonderful because had I made the connection straight away, I think, oh my God, I've been like, so nervous about everything, and but I'm glad because he is so easy to get along with and to speak to and to work with. He has the most incredible vision and how he has these stories in his head and then translate it all to paper. I mean, it's incredible.
I was going to ask you on the subject of characters that you've done, that video you posted on Twitter where you were practicing your lower range and sort of paying tribute to Peter Cullen.
Oh man.
Yes.
Was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's reaching into my childhood a bit there. And but I wanted to ask you, if you had like a dream role, a character that you would want to play more than anybody, who would that be?
Listen, in terms of voicing a character, I know he is an ultimate legend in it, and he will always and forever be. But the idea of doing Optimus Prime would be incredible. I mean, he's one of a few characters and stuff, but definitely one that, and also because I think I relate to his demeanor, the way he's a powerful speaker, but there's this warmth to him. There's something underlying about his caring, and but even when he speaks, if he's angry, he doesn't have to fully yell. People know when he's serious. People know when has something worthwhile to say that you should listen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. He's not mad. He's just disappointed.
Yeah, I was going to say that dad energy.
Yeah, very much so.
I think he said he got that from, his brother. I think
Correct.
he was like in the military or something.
That's right.
And that was how he just kind of carried that energy of like, not threatening, but just like, hey, stern.
Yeah, something like, he was saying that I think he was going on his way to the audition for this role. And I think his brother said, well, you can be commanding and authoritative and all those things without yelling and all that sort of stuff, and then he said that just think about being able to be this particular way. I don't want to quote him because it's not word for word, but it was something along those lines. And he said he went in and it just completely changed how he saw it and went with that. And that's where Optimus Prime became, But yeah, I mean, I love it. So yeah, I'm glad you saw that. I had fun. It was off the cuff. And, I had started this YouTube channel where I was doing this little series I created called Joy to the Word. And it was really basically reading poetry and monologues, and people were suggesting, speeches from video games and stuff, obviously Death Stranding fans. And so I started to try to do some of those things. And I thought, and then I came across this and I thought, this is really cool. I remember this. And let me just see how this, so it was off the cuff, a flyby. And I just turned my camera on, sat, and I was right here at the mic. And I thought, let me just read this and see if I can, just get an essence of that, and so that was it, off the cuff, not me trying to by any means, take over or anything like that. It was purely in my way. I love
Peter Cullen.
Oh no, man! I was like, I want to. If I can pay a homage to this as a sort of in a humble way, it was never to be anything other than I love this, and I get where he was going. I understood his demeanor and everything, and so I think it was, and also it was fun. It was, that dialogue was great, and when you've seen
speech,
oh my God. Any of his speeches, you know what I mean? And there's something about him, that just sits up here, Peter Cullen, he's got a history of a body of work that's incredible. And there's just something about him and that. And I just felt, let me just give this a go. And this sounds fun, So that was it.
Are there any other big voice actors that you kind of like have kind of looked to for certain techniques or certain styles where you're trying to get into that certain range or?
You know what? To be honest, no. I only say this purely because there are a lot of them that I like that I hear voices in passing and I have such a great respect for. But what I try not to do is I know what my lower register is and I know how low it can go and I know where my middle sits and how certain things and I know what my voice is capable of and what it isn't capable of doing. So what I've learned to do is accept the voice that I have and just go with it. And a lot of times I'll get a breakdown that says they're looking for a voice that's similar to this. Now, that's the only time that I really pay attention to certain voices, because if a breakdown comes through and they say, well, we're looking for somebody who's, a Keith David type or Peter Cullen or any of that, or Troy Baker or any of that, you get that reference and sometimes instantly, or James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman. And, so you know those voices because you've heard them a million times. And if a voice comes up that a name I don't recognize necessarily, then I look it up and I go, oh, okay, I get that. I get it. And then I'll try and work from that perspective. But I try not to follow anyone else only because I figure if I do that, then I'm not staying true to who I am and what my natural instincts might be. And so it's learning to be able to trust yourself, learning to hopefully let other people trust that what you do. And because if I'm like that consistently, people will start to go, oh, that's a Tommie Earl Jenkins. Oh, that sounds like Tommie Earl Jenkins. But the minute you fluctuate constantly, then you don't establish a tone or what's the word? A template for yourself. Do you know what I mean? You want to be able to set yourself in your own box and go along with the Keith Davids or James Earl Jones, Morgan Freeman's, Tommie Earl Jenkins. You want to be able to stand alone. You want to be able to go when someone closes their eyes and they listen to you speak, they know who you are.
Yeah, that's something I can fully identify with. As a music producer myself, it's all about like finding your own sound. So when people hear enough of your stuff, they're like, "Oh, that's a Fingers track." Okay,
right.
like I can tell that's a Fingers track for sure. That's how he does his synth bends and stuff like that. Yeah, you definitely want to create your own voice instead of being derivative and just starting to imitate other people's sounds.
And it's hard because you want to follow your own instincts, but because here's the one thing I always tell people when I'm talking to young people who are getting started, whether that's in acting or theater or whatever, and I say, listen, the key to your success, and it may seem like it may take forever, but the one thing that nobody else can be is you. And so therefore, if you stay true to how you speak, how you sound, how you sing, your own little thing. Come up with your own little isms or your own little things that actually become a staple within your own character that you have created. That is your thing. And that will set you apart from everybody else who's trying to be everybody else.
Yep. That's your truth right there. Yep, exactly. And it's like, nobody can deny your truth if you're just, that's who you always are.
Yeah. Yep. And eventually people will accept it because you're doing the same thing over and over. The minute you're not establishing yourself as who you are because you're too busy trying to be so many other different people. So that's my suggestion. It doesn't work for everybody necessarily, but that's what I like to impart, that kind of wisdom, only because I feel like it's taken me a while to accept who I am, and my voice and everything, because I never used to like the sound of my voice. I still sometimes cringe at the sound of my voice. But
I feel that, man.
I don't
it's
think
like
anybody
everyone
likes the sound of their own voice.
Exactly. I mean, you might find the odd person who goes, I love my voice, but
Yeah, those are the ones you got to watch out for.
Right. But I hear myself on certain things and I kind of, oh God, I sound like a geek on that. Or, oh God, I sound terrible on that. Oh, that's terrible. Or I hear myself laughing. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, that's terrible. So I think we all have that. And I think that it's good to be like that. It's good to be like that. But you hear it and you learn to accept it. And you think, well, do you know what? No one else sounds like that. So I just am going to accept it. I'm going to move forward with it. And I'll find other things to do. I'll find other characters that I can do. I'll find other ranges in my voice. But my go-to place sits here. It sits low. And this is where I'm most comfortable. Do you know what I mean? And it just, that's where I am.
I think that's what made Die-Hardman too just like so believable. It didn't sound like you were trying to like push out a voice too much, Right.
Like
that was, that didn't give you too much trouble to get down there and just,
right.
Besides the emotional scenes, of course, but just when you're delivering the normal type lines.
Yeah. And I think, with him, it was incredible to like for that scene at the very end, because he does break down that you just kind of go, you can hear in the voice that it is, the man who's so much and so used to being in control, losing all control. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Of his own self at that moment, emotionally. And that was hard. That was, I think, for him, that was hard.
Absolutely. When we originally talked about like dream roles and stuff, you had mentioned that you got a few requests that were for, I think you said, other video games outside of Death Stranding. Mm-hmm. Did any of them sort of stand out for you, like any particular characters or video games that they, like monologues they gave you?
In terms of, you mean the ones when I was reading them, you mean, or?
Right. Like the requests you were getting.
Oh yeah. So I had read a few, and I think there were, some of the opening of Fallout, the Fallout games. Yeah. So there are a lot of those that I'd done. And there was, I can't remember what it was. It was a fantasy one. There were a few. But I'll have to go back and check. So I didn't read all of them, but I got the suggestions. And I think what I'm going to do is dedicate one of the episodes of my next series where I do strictly just video game monologues or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
But in my own style. I'm not going to try and I'll try and keep the integrity of the piece, but just do it maybe the way that Tommie Earl Jenkins would do it. Do you know what I mean? So it would, but just as a spin on something. So, but I quite like the challenge of it because it's interesting. I try to do some cold readings because things that I've never heard before, so that I don't necessarily fall into what people know, and then all of a sudden there's this whole new twist on it because I didn't listen to the original. I'm only going reading the text that I see on the paper and what I instantly feel from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you something. And
yes.
I apologize if this is a little uncouth, but I wanted to know a little bit more about you, so I looked online to try and figure out a little bit about your history, your work.
Yes.
And I found out that you were, according to Wikipedia, you were born an hour and a half northeast of where I was born in Canton, Ohio.
I was indeed, yes.
I was born in Newark, Ohio. And so my question for you,
yes.
Go Bucks?
Go Bucks! Go Bucks! Go Buckeyes!
You've just made his day.
Go Bucks! Go Bucks, man. Newark. Oh, where exactly is Newark then?
Newark's about dead center, about 30 minutes east of Columbus.
Oh, okay. I'm so used to going the other direction, like towards Cleveland.
That's where all the fun is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I get it. I kind of see where you are. The funny thing is that I hadn't been, Wikipedia's interesting. There's a lot about me you'll probably didn't even know. Well, what's interesting is a lot of people have found out a lot about me that they didn't actually know. A lot of people didn't even know that I was gay or any of that. So and that I'm married. So all of that has been a revelation to people. And at the same token, they kind of go, but you don't seem like that. And I'm just kind of going, I don't quite know what that means, but...
So does that put you off then that there's all this information about you now easily accessible online like that?
It doesn't put me off. What it does is I kind of go, well, I don't have to tell anybody. If you want to know something about me, it's pretty much out there, and I can't fucking do anything about it. And not that there's nothing for me to be ashamed of. If anything, I'm absolutely 100% proud of everything about myself. I think it's hard. There were times in my career that I thought being gay would be a hindrance in some ways because, it made you feel that way. Years ago, it was hard to be accepted and, whether, if a person's gay and to be playing certain character roles in certain things. I think the time has come where that people have opened their minds a little bit more about that and just kind of
definitely.
going, listen, that if a person is right for a role, let's give them the opportunity. And it still can be a struggle, I think, for certain things. But in this day and age now where we're talking about, if a character is handicapped, then it should be played by a handicapped person. If a person is trans, then you should have a trans person. But where do we draw the line? Because if a character is gay, is it all right to have a straight guy play that gay character, or vice versa?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So where does the line fall? And for me, I just kind of go, you know what? We are actors who work in a bubble that allows us to pretend to be somebody we are not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so therefore, it is a fantasy. It's fictional. It is for us to go through the costume box and pull out things and let's play dress up. Do you know what I mean? Let's play dress up where anybody can be whatever they want to be. You know what I mean? And if a character calls for it, that's what it is. It's like back in England in the days when, in Shakespeare, where all the women roles were played by men because there were no women in theater.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And you started in theater too, didn't you?
I did. My life began in theater when I was 14. I got my first paid job.
Wow.
When I was 14 years old. So I've been working like a dog for the last 100 years. But it's interesting because a lot of people kind of go, I didn't know about you until Death Stranding, which is also wonderful that I was able to reach a lot of people. But at the same time, I'm not an overnight person. I've been working and, just, beating the pavement, rising and grinding every day since I was 14, doing what I do. And so it's not new to me, but it's nice to see that people are recognizing me from a different medium and therefore showing an interest in other parts of my life, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's what's great about having, just like at least an IMDb, because then they can just go, all right, well, let's go check out what else he's done,
Right.
List and, let's go see what he did. And,
Right.
So, and one thing, you are an uncredited person for Dolomite Is My Name.
Yeah, because
I love that movie so much.
it's so good, isn't it?
Oh,
It's
man.
so good.
Wesley
Loved it,
Snipes
but-
is...
Yeah. So I, the uncredited in it is mainly because normally it should be voice because I do a lot of voiceover work throughout the movie. Yeah. A lot of characters and stuff, which is, and a lot of ADR or looping as we call it. So there's a lot of movies that I've done that I haven't been credited for in any way, shape or form. Like, like the Captain Marvel, I do a lot of voice work in that. And, just a lot of stuff. So they get you the IMDb credit, but it's uncredited because there's no screen credit, I suppose, is what they go by.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were like, man, we've all seen that movie.
We all seen that movie, and I didn't see him in
Like,
that. He said he was in Dolomite Is My Name. I ain't see him.
Oh, man.
I did not see him.
I'm
Now
seeing
we
like
got
the
it.
Patriot Games, The Bourne Identity, Reign of Fire. I'm like, what?
Yeah, all of those. And, and it was all voice work, so the voice side of thing goes back a really long time. But it's just, life as a voice artist and an actor is, it's a time. For me, I consider myself just to be a working actor. Do you know what I mean? I don't, whatever sort of recognition or fame comes along, it comes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. For me, it is about the work, and I like doing quality work, and I like doing good work, and I just like working. So I don't push that boundary of really trying to, get my name out or anything like that. I think social media now in this day and age has been a big thing where people get to know you a little bit more because of, somebody read this tweet and it got retweeted, and then somebody followed you because of that, and you know what I mean, and someone reaches out to you, and and I'm really good on social media. I tend to I know, so I might be a little too good sometimes, but
yeah, man, you kill it.
Whenever I see a spicy Die-Hardman meme, I see you right there in the thread. Give
Ah,
it a thumbs up.
I do. I just like you. If people are gonna show you some love, I'm just like, show just a little bit of love back. That's just how I am. I mean, there are crazy people. You kind of have to kind of go, and I don't want to say crazy and get that misconstrued in this day and age, or to be taken out of context. I'm using that term loosely, as in, there are people out there who just are a little over infatuated with certain things.
Over
Enthusiastic. Yeah, a little too much.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I figure, if you do something or work on a project that people are inevitably going to be drawn to in some way, shape, or form, you just have to be prepared that people will. And I wouldn't say I have to answer to or reach out to everybody, but I do like to show the fan side of support that they show me, because I think it's important, because I do believe that in future, when things come along and you want the support from people, you want to know that that support continues on to the next project that you do in some way, shape, or form. Because without those people, you don't really have anything, or it's not worth it. You're doing it for work, but at the same time, the people who are watching it are those people who are supporting supporting you.
Makes it worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah,
sure.
so I just don't like to ignore people, and maybe ignore is a strong word, because I don't believe that I ever really ignore anyone. I just think that I don't often, sometimes I might not reply, or I might just like something or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to write an essay, but
yeah, that can definitely get overwhelming if you're trying to respond to every single thing that comes through, every comment. It's just like, if you can spend all day, that's a full-time job.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a little bit more to life, and hopefully people understand that, but ultimately I think I've done my fair share, and I do my fair share of responding to people when I can, and for that I'm grateful that people are still always, it's over a year now since the game's been 15 months, I think it is. And people are still talking about it. People are still have something to say. People are still sending messages. People are still, liking this or liking that. And, and it's been great. So I'm very appreciative of that. And when you see that it comes from around the world, I mean, there are places that I'd never been in contact with people before. And now I look at it and I kind of go, wow, you're from Russia. You're from Indonesia. You're from Brazil. It's everywhere. So it's cool. It's really cool.
It's going back to that theme of connecting with people.
Well, on the subject of connecting and responding, I have to tell you a funny story.
Okay.
So my wife and I both spent a ridiculous amount of time playing that game. So she's familiar with you and your name, and just we both have spent a ridiculous amount of time in that.
This is about the accidental phone call.
Yeah, this is about the accidental phone call. Yeah. So the other day, we're out driving, running some errands. We're getting ready to move soon, so we've got a lot to do. And as we're driving, I've got my phone on the dash, and Fingers accidentally hits that call button.
No, that wasn't me.
Was
that
you?
was Tommie.
Oh, that was you? Because I thought it was Fingers at first, but that call went through, and then my phone lights up, and it has Tommie Earl Jenkins written in large across the screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
this
look
is right
at
when
that.
I set up the Discord server for us to all chat it and stuff. And I think somebody had hit the call button and.
Oh, really?
So it pops up on the screen as I'm driving, and she looks over, and her eyes get as wide as can be, and she looks at it, and she's like, "Why is Die-Hardman calling you?" And I realize what has probably happened. So I hit the cancel button.
Yeah.
And her eyes get wider, and she's like, "Why did you hang up on him?"
You just ghosted him. What's wrong with you? I remember that. I remember because I think I said, I don't know if I sent you a message or maybe you said something to me because I remember.
I was just like, hey man, wrong button.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. But I didn't realize it went to your phone or anything like that.
It did, and I just let her simmer for a bit.
Oh yeah, it went to my work phone.
So I just let her simmer for a bit with that.
That's so
laughing
funny.
to myself over
That's so
freaking
funny.
out.
Oh yeah, we've got him on the podcast this weekend. By the way, it's hilarious.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, I remember hitting that button, and even I was a bit like, because I said to you, I used Discord once before, maybe twice
only used it
before
once.
for other interviews and stuff or whatever, and I remember thinking, God, this whole interface, what do I do now? So I've got to do that. Okay, yeah. And then I saw that, and I just hit the button. I was like, oh no, that's not right. That's not. That's not right. That's so funny.
That's great.
That is so funny.
Yeah, it definitely broke the ice
Yeah.
for us because we were like, oh my God, what do we do?
That was a highlight of my week.
So did you
Yeah.
all get it? Does it come to everybody when it happens, or?
Yeah,
Yep.
like I
Yeah.
just set up like a group with just the four of us.
Oh my
you know, it's
God.
like all of our phones went off at one time, because we've all got it installed on our phones too.
I was in a work meeting.
And I was like, man, I don't have time to make deliveries right now.
That's so funny. I had no idea that it was like pressing that button and I'm getting all of you. Justice League. That's funny. That's so funny.
Man.
With games, I know that's probably a big departure from doing TV, film, theater. Have you had a lot of experience with games? Is this somewhat of a new medium for you, or
It's the funny thing is it's not. It's just that I think like anything, it's doing voice work in certain mediums can be a very close-knit circuit until people get to know you or know your work.
Absolutely.
I think that for a lot, my name is certainly out there now because of this game, even more so. But I did stuff on Guild Wars, World of Warcraft,
Whoa. Wow.
Pillars of Eternity, or whatever, and a few other games and stuff. But I've never really, the roles that I've played have been smaller roles or a multitude of roles within that game. And it's funny because every time I work with people, they're like, oh, I love your voice and we really should try and find a character, a really good character for you to do. This will be great. So I think, like a lot of people, you wait for those roles to come along, or for somebody to give you the opportunity to do it. And, because I know that whenever I'm in the studio and work, I always do and certainly try to do my best work. And I always get called back. They're like, oh, some people are like, oh, I hadn't heard of you before. Someone recommended you and I'm so glad. And listen, are you free to do this? Are you free to do that? And the doors just start to open that way. But, like I said, if people don't know you, people always tend to go with what they know. They always tend to go with the safe bet, and not necessarily it's that it's safe, but they also know they're going to get the quality of work that they're used to getting. But sometimes I'm always saying that's why people should never give up. It is a fight. It's a fight to stay in the business. It's a fight to find your place within it, and to wait and not give up, because you just never know when certain things will come along. And it's the same way people always say it about the acting industry, is that, that a lot of people, actors that I know, who have been at their lowest point where they're about to give up and the most amazing thing happens. And, it just gives them, they do a complete 360 and, their whole world changes because of a particular role that comes along,
Yeah.
And I think that it also depends on the how high profile that project might be as well, and that's a big thing, getting onto those projects. And, look, I can't tell you the number of times that I have been up for roles and constantly up for roles for, animation or TV shows or games. And I get the material and I'm sitting here, I'm going, oh my God, I don't know why I wouldn't hire me on this. Why the fuck wouldn't I hire me? You know what I mean? And then,
yeah.
and then all you get back is silence. That's it. You don't hear anything. So it is. And at the same time, you just don't know. There's, how many people are up for it, how many people are known that are up for it. And a lot of times roles that I've gone up for have gone to where I've gone, had callbacks. I've had callbacks with major networks via Zoom in my vocal booth here. And I'm thinking, God, this is great. And they're saying, I don't have any notes for you. You hit all the points. You were funny. You did this, and this. And, I get off that call and I'm like, fuck, I might as well sign the contract because this gig is mine. This is so mine. And
nailed it.
And silence, dead silence.
Man.
You hear nothing. And then you hear that it's gone to an A-list actor or someone who has a much higher profile, so you continue.
Oh, definitely heard that tale.
Yeah. So you definitely have to contend with all of that. And even with, there are other voice actors who've obviously been, I've probably been working as long as these people have, but I probably haven't done as high a profile jobs as they have consistently, so people like that I'd love to work with and stuff, and the opportunity. Hopefully, I think Death Stranding has been a way that people now know, one, who I am, and two, that maybe the opportunities are going to be a little bit more in the future for certain projects, and and certainly people won't have a problem taking my submissions, I'm sure, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't expect to get every job that I go after. Well, let me rephrase it. Yes, I do. I expect to get every single job I go after. I'm going to change that right now, taking that right out of the ether, man. I do. I expect to get every job I go after. If I've given you 100%, and I also, at the end of the day, I think you know that the possibility is I can give you what I can give you until you get me in the room. And you're like any director. A director can pull a lot of things out of you that you never thought about in terms of the piece, because they also have a vision and an idea in their head. Now, if you're close to the mark, then they know this is great because now I can steer him in this direction to get him to do this. Do you know what I mean? But there's only so much you can do without certain information. So, but I don't know, I'm enjoying the journey. I always have. I've always enjoyed being a part of an industry that lets me follow a dream. And, I just know that with it comes ups and downs. And there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot. And you have to be callous. Your skin has to be fully callous about all of that and able to take rejection on a regular basis. I mean, I've heard more no's in my life than I have yes, believe me, in all aspects. So I just kind of go, okay, that's what it is, but it's got to be water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I'm still here. I'm still enjoying the process. I'm looking forward to the future on the projects that I do have coming my way, and and being able to share it with you guys and everyone else out there who are looking forward to new stuff.
Yeah,
we're definitely looking forward to whatever else you got going, behind closed doors. We know you're working on some projects that you can't talk about. So we're excited to see what you do.
Thank you, man.
we will be paying attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just gotta take the wins when you can get them and just keep on keeping on, right?
Keep on keeping on, man. I'm telling you.
Yep.
I'm telling you. That phrase has never been truer. It's like I've adopted that phrase with everything at the moment. So, yeah.
What a motto.
It is. Definitely.
I've definitely said it to a few people myself.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Tommie, we definitely appreciate you taking time to talk to us.
Of
man.
course,
it's been an
man.
honor and a privilege, man.
Yeah,
We're
thank
all
you so
huge
much.
fans.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you, guys. Thank you. You guys have been brilliant. It's been so much fun. So much fun.
Cool. All right, and if people want to find you online on your socials, if you want to plug like your Twitter and your Instagram, if
yeah, absolutely.
plug those, you can go ahead.
Yeah, you can get me on Twitter at TJ84. That's TEEJAYE 84 on Twitter. Tommie Earl Jenkins official on Instagram. Tommie Earl Jenkins Facebook if you're out there, and also my YouTube channel, Tommie Earl Jenkins.
All right. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely no problem. All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Cool. Thanks. You too.
You too.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye.